Lightning like Steve McQueen. I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit. Cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly. Better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder. And I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines and, most importantly, provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight. What do I mean by that? I mean, I only speak to transportation professionals on this show, as well as my twice-a-week long-form podcast, you guys, so we can put the right information out there from the people who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve, so you can apply, utilize, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. It's one of the many reasons why I proudly fly this American flag behind me every single day. A, we're the greatest nation on earth, but B, I'm living my American dream, and I want to help each and every one of you live yours as well. I got a special guest for you guys today. It is Friday. It is Q&A day, and I have a shipper here today, you guys, who is more than welcome to answer all of your questions about how do I get business in this industry. You don't have to take my word for it. You don't have to take anybody else's word for it. This is literally somebody who fields all of your outreaches all the time, and he's here to help. So if you have any questions, drop them in the chats. We will answer them live. Before we go any further, though, I got to give a shout out to my friends over at VHub. You guys, vhubapp.com. Whether you're a broker, carrier, or shipper, we all need access to those trailers. And you get paid to move these too, you guys. That's on top of the revenue that you can get by loading these out. So for all my small fleets and my owner ops out there, you never have to shut your operation down if you have a trailer in the shop. So what they got like 140 some trailers out here in Stoughton, Wisconsin, needing to get over to Milton, Ontario, you guys. And now this is how you really work that enterprise level account, is you can offer a drop trailer capacity, because these don't just have to move from Stoughton to Milton. You can bring them down to Chicago, drop them down there, and then finish it up over in the GTA. There's allotted repositioning times associated with all of these moves. They also have Chattanooga, Tennessee, going over to Clinton, Oklahoma. You got 600 US to move each one of those trailers. They got a bunch out in San Diego, you guys, going all over the country, going out to Georgia, Illinois, Arkansas, Tennessee, Texas, North Carolina, Minnesota, and they range between 1,100 and 2,200 per move. And then finally, they got our favorite one out in Paragould, Arkansas, going to Mississauga, Ontario. And same thing, you guys, you get 736 US to move that, you guys. So hit them up, vhubapp.com. My friends, Zach Lonergan and Stacy Steen, they'll be in the audience. Just do me a favor, let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. All right, without further ado, let's jump right into it. I got my man, Vitaly Becker. He's in the GTA. You're the one who always corrected me, let me know that I finally pronounced Mississauga right.
It took a year and a half, but we're finally there. It's a great feeling.
I thought that I could streamline it because I have, being from northern Wisconsin, I can kind of talk and carry my A's and my O's really good. But apparently I just couldn't get Mississauga down.
It's funny. It's actually quite common. Even people here from different provinces, they can't say it. It's fine.
I love it. That's fantastic. So, dude, what's good, man? What's new? You took your time on your day off to come in. So I appreciate all of that, man, because, again, all the insight that you always provide the audience, but especially in your day off, man. So thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Always a pleasure to be here. Looking forward to helping some people out.
Dude, I love it. Jerome Jones is watching over on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. I go live on YouTube, and from what I hear from everybody who was watching on LinkedIn that transitions over to YouTube, the audio and video quality is exponentially better over there, you guys. So go over there. Make sure you subscribe when you jump onto that channel. What is up, my man? Mike's over there. He's on YouTube as well. Zach Lonergan, happy fucking Friday. Tracy St. Clair, she's wide. Dude, it is transition. Everybody is going to YouTube, and they're staying over on YouTube when they go over there. Papa Freight, he says, good morning, beautiful weather. Dude, it has been exponentially better weather. It's been like 90 degrees during the day. Man, it's perfect out here. I will hold the weather down for you, sir. So, V, let's talk about the sales process, man. You get in any market, just for like context, because I think that a lot of people think that the people are ignoring me or everything else. On average, in any market, how many outreaches do you get in a day from new providers?
Oh, I mean, it definitely varies. It's certainly at least one a day, right? I don't think for me it's as much as maybe some people who are really high up on like some really high visibility roles, right?
Mhm.
I've kind of hidden myself away from social media in certain ways where people haven't quite figured it out yet. But yeah, like 1 to 5 a day easily.
Mhm.
If you combine just LinkedIn and emails and then cold calls, I don't always see those on unknown numbers and whatnot, so it could even be higher.
Yeah. So, I mean, and then also, one thing that I've done, because again, like I'm out here prospecting every single day, just like everybody is, right? And you get those email blockers that come through where there's people that you guys don't even take external communications that are coming in unless it's you initiating the email to me in particular, right? Like maybe that's not in your company, but I know that that's the case because I have a customer now where I was emailing them and then I called them and I was like, hey, I'm just following up. I've sent over a couple of emails and they're like, I don't have any emails. I'm like, check your spam. And then it was in their spam folder and they didn't see anything. And then them initiating the outbound email is what actually got that attention. So it's, dude, it's like, there's so many different things that you're up against out there, but like, are you one of those people that you read all these emails and you feel the need like, hey, if they said something that really got my attention, I'm going to respond?
Honestly, no.
Yeah.
I have certain criteria. So I just want to preface this with saying this is, how I approach things.
Correct.
Different people, even at our employer, are different. I think a big part of it is going to be even age, demographic. Like everyone's different, right?
Yeah.
So we're just talking about kind of what I look at, take it with a grain of salt. For me, I can't possibly look at every request, and I have certain criteria. The two easy ones are it can't be too long and it can't be too short. If it's too short, if it's too vague, there's no point. That's going to be too long of a back and forth. File it away. If it's too long, if you've sent, a 6-paragraph essay and a thesis, I can't possibly go through that, right? So that's kind of usually the baseline, unless it's somebody that I recognize or some company that I'm interested in already.
Okay. So, because like I've noticed that as well, is it's like because I always say it like this, it's always about identifying how your prospect wants to communicate, right? Because there are people who prefer phone, there are people who prefer email. I think that for me, like man, especially in the open deck world, I got shippers who text me. They're like, hey, pick it up at this location. Here's where it is. Because they're like, a lot of those guys are actively loading trucks in my niche that I work in. So a lot of them, dude, it's identifying that, but it does, man, it takes a lot of work to get noticed because I think like after a certain point in time, because you've been in your role for, a few years now, like does most of these outreaches kind of blend together after a certain amount of time?
For sure. Some of them are honestly just copy pastes.
Yeah.
It's honestly quite rare to see something unique, and it's really easy to tell when someone's done their homework. Like it just jumps out at you, and so those calls I basically immediately take. Right,
Mhm.
I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't try to explore every opportunity. With the sheer volume of them, it is really hard. In my case, I know exactly what I'm looking for. I have very specific things that I'm looking for, generally not looking for general freight, right? So it's really easy for me to eliminate certain things. And so maybe for others that are looking for a lot of general kind of ad hoc freight, their, criteria is a lot more broad than mine. But yeah, because I know exactly what I'm looking for, it's really easy to identify what I need. And it's quite common to get basically the same kind of refresh over and over again.
And that obviously works against the people who are taking the time to personalize messages and everything else, because it's like if you see an unknown logistics provider or transportation company come in, you're going to be less inclined to open it because you're like, oh, it's probably just like the other 30 messages that I've got this week about how we can save you money and we can do reefer freight for you when you're, not needing reefer freight and everything else. So you're going to be less inclined, or you're going to, because again, I think like opening mess sentences are very key, right? Like, how are you captivating the reader of that message? Because I think like it's crucial, right? Like it's crucial to put something of value right away in the message instead of, hey, I'm just reaching out to talk to you about whatever. They know why you're like, if you saw Freight Coach Logistics pop up in your inbox and we've never talked before, you probably have a pretty good idea about what I'm about to say, right?
For sure. And I think maybe 20 years ago, you can get away with, hey, it's a process of getting to know a person. And the only way to get that information is to chat with them, right? That's not like that anymore. There's so much information out there. I honestly expect people to know what they're coming into, right? You can, by looking at what I post and looking at where I work, and kind of making some assumptions based on the kind of work that it is, right? You should know if A, you are able to service what we're doing, and B, see if you can help, and then go in with actual information, right? Specific lanes, specific types of equipment, that kind of thing. So there really is no excuse these days not to do some research and have a basic idea of what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah, man. Cause like obviously I utilize lead generation software, right? I think it's very effective to get in because you can, target it down to, precast concrete or shingles or whatever that looks like and get in there. But again, it's like, I do that. I cross-reference the company's website because again, everything's literally on there. And then I'll go to LinkedIn and see, is the point of contact that's listed on the lead gen software still actively employed in that role? And then again, is it personalizing? Everything is out there, right? Like literally every piece of information about a company you need is out there. And I got to bring this question up first here. How often do you get the reach out and the name is wrong? Not spelled wrong, but a completely different name and company.
I think in my case, a lot of times they don't have names at all because they probably look at it and they're like, no, I'm not even messing with that. But I do once in a while get the, you could tell they're generated because there's like a little question mark and a dollar sign and then name goes here. Those are pretty classic. So that only probably happens maybe a couple of times every few weeks or so. But I noticed that, at least in my case, a lot of times the name isn't even included.
And that's insane to me, right? Because again, I mean, because I get it too. Like as a business owner, I get a ton of solicitations for literally everything. And I've gotten them, it says, hello, hashtag or whatever, insert name here. And then they're always like or my absolute favorite ones are the ones who say, hey, I see that you have been in your role as a founder at this company. Are you open to new opportunities of becoming an entry-level sales rep? I'm like, motherfucker, like what the fuck are you even? Who says, yeah, I'm going to sell my company, become an entry-level sales rep for somebody else?
Yeah, that's the stuff you just toss away, right? It's no effort.
It's the laziness of it. Jerome Jones has a question as well. Is it possible for a small carrier like one truck to get a shipper? And if it's hard, is it a possibility to work with two different carriers that's also small and have maybe 3 trucks?
It's a good question. I think it's definitely difficult. Like if you're looking for let's throw a number out there, billion plus, a company that has X amount of millions worth of spend, right? They're generally covering a wide variety of freight. And so they're likely going to brokers, or if they're going to asset-based, they're going there specifically to cover set amount of shipments, right? I would say it's always possible, right? If you're out there online and you can be found, it's definitely possible, right? But if you can't be found, if there's no information about you out there, there's no way for me to find you. I do think a great idea for one truck carriers is to be really connected with a broker, right? And have them, like you do with your flatbed freight, have them understand exactly what your niche is so that when something comes up, they can call you in almost like a co-op situation with somebody else. So it's not, I'll be honest, it's not easy. It's definitely possible. There's a lot of security things involved and obviously visibility. So sometimes it's just about partnering with the right people to get that kind of business.
I think that, it really depends on the size of the organization that you are prospecting, right? I think that your local shippers that are in your backyard that don't have a international or a national footprint are going to be your best bet for those direct relationships, right? Because I think that there is not everybody, but there's a certain level of financial stability that a lot of these large enterprise shippers look for in their partners, right? Because there are millions and millions of dollars worth of freight running across the books. And it's nothing against your company in particular, Jerome, here, that you just don't have you don't move the needle enough for them. And even a brokerage, and most brokers, and I would argue 99% of the brokers out there don't move the needle enough for them on what they look for in the criteria of a lot of it. I think it is very possible for you to get direct shippers. Very possible. They are out there. It's just, how are you going about it? Again, to V's point, you need to know your business. You need to know what your capabilities are, and when you're going out there and you're reaching out. I mean, selling's not easy. No matter what anybody on the internet wants to say, selling is not easy. It does take a lot of effort and energy to get noticed, but I think that the possibilities are out there. And, for me, it always boils down to this, man: how bad do you really want it? Right? Like, I personally, this is how I feed my family. This isn't a game to me. This isn't a joke. I'm not reaching out to people to waste anybody's time. This is how I put food on my family's plate, and I'm not willing to risk that for anything. And, so it's like that. That's how I really go about my mindset when I'm reaching out to somebody, because I believe in the service that I can provide to somebody. I know that I can help a shipper or a prospect if they give me an opportunity to work with them. I know I can. I'm not reaching out with the mindset of what can I financially gain from this relationship, because I know money comes in time. I know how much it means if some company's willing to give you thousands of dollars a month worth of business. That's not something anybody can take lightly. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people view it as, I offer this, why aren't you fucking paying me? And I think that's a lot of people's mentality with this.
For sure. And I mean, in your case, and we know this for a fact, you're not reaching out to every single person in existence about every single piece of business. You have a niche, and you know exactly what you're calling people about, and you know exactly what you're offering them. And that's why you're going to be successful with it.
Yeah. And I think, because again, it's like, if you look at how much freight moves out there, how much opportunity is really out there, it's endless, right? Like, it's really endless. And I think that, a lot of people get caught up in the power lanes as well. They only want Atlanta to Chicago, or Dallas up to Minnesota, or Minneapolis, or whatever that they want power lanes. They want easy. They want first come, first serve. And when you're a new provider, especially coming in and getting in the door, I'll just we literally just set up a new customer this morning. We've been prospecting the guy for probably 5 months, right? And it got in our opportunity that comes across. I would argue 99% of the people would overlook it because it's not a power lane, right? And it's based off of that alone. I'll do it because I know the first shipments that I'm going to move for somebody, or at least be offered to move for somebody, is going to be probably a partial. It's going to be low volume. It might be a one-off thing, and that's going to be it, right? And the better paying freight, the more consistent business is earned. So it's like, are you willing to do a 1-pick 4-drop load that nobody else is willing to work on? Are you going to be willing to work on that? Because that's probably the opportunity that you are going to be presented with right away. Let me see here. Julio Lascoga, good morning. Trey Lincoln, good morning. I think Teal was meaning this for a little bit ago in the conversation. I'm doing a large logistics project in your area and would like to connect to see if I can haul your freight.
Teal hits you with a classic.
Yeah, I know. Stephen Title said, when I was with VMI for Lowe's in early 2000s, I only had 4 brokers and over 500 5-truck or less carriers that I used to move our flatbed freight. So some places easy to sign on as 1 truck with large shippers. And then Teal also says, I think you have some stability as well in how you run. You can go direct to the shipper and say, I want to run direct, and I'm in this place every 10 days for a load. They like the predictability, and then can execute upon that. Execution is everything.
Can I actually comment on that, on those 2 comments?
Yeah.
I think this is a perfect example of different people handling things different ways. So that's why that question really is, there's so much that depends on it, right? But for sure, there are certain people that prefer to deal as direct as possible. And in some cases, that's right to the driver, right? And so that's great. It's definitely possible to get these opportunities. But to Teal's point, for the larger shippers, it will absolutely be about stability. Hey, if I am relying on you to handle a lane and you break down, if you're a solo guy, I have to go somewhere else now and cover whatever that situation is, right? And so it for sure has to be a realistic approach, and there has to be some contingency when dealing with the smaller operations.
In today's market, V, with where things are right now, and I try and be as candid in every single show that I do about how much effort it actually takes to onboard somebody, right? And the amount of outreach, and a lot of it is it's a lot of it's timing, right? Are you hitting them at the right time where they're even noticing it? Because V's just one individual in this entire cog, right? Like I know guys that are transportation managers that, they don't 5% of their day is freight, right? 95% of their day has to do with inventory, raw materials, head count, all of that shit. There's so much, so it's like, I think a lot of it's timing when, and then how you're what are you willing to do to get somebody's attention, right? Because I think there's I think that there's a course out there that people sign up for in the freight brokerage world where they're like, oh, say this, and it's going to say save them money, and then say that you can do dry van, reefer, LTL, ocean, intermodal, drayage, fucking unicorn, backwards, whatever, and and that's what people send out. And I think that if you really want to get noticed out there, for me it's what's your plan? Why are you reaching out? If your answer to that is to win their business, you have the wrong intentions on why you're reaching out to somebody. Because again, I don't know. I have an idea about how people are going to be based off of the commodity that they ship, but I don't know the individual shipper. Are they going to be a partner long-term? And that's the beauty of prospecting. I want to get somebody on the phone because I want to vet my prospects as much as my prospects want to vet me. I got to make sure that they are aware of the whole spectrum of the industry, right? I got to see where's the value that I can add on top of my industry experience when I'm prospecting and talking to them. Are they aware of a lot of the different laws and rules and regulations that are out there? Where can I also add value that has nothing to do with, can I have some freight to quote?
Oh, for sure. That's why, honestly, when I said in the beginning, those general approaches they're the least useful for me, right? It doesn't solve anything. All that's asking me to do is to reach out and start this long conversation without even knowing the basics. At least if somebody comes in with a bit more detail, with some concept of what's happening, and they want to have an actual conversation beyond, we do everything everywhere. If you do everything everywhere, I don't know, right? But if somebody comes and says, hey, you know what? Here's a retailer. They probably do a lot of straight truck work. Hey, I got 80 straight trucks. I got 20 of them in New York. Okay. Hey, what's up? Okay, great. That's a conversation. And then we could talk about it. It would be silly for me not to take a call like that. Right.
Yeah.
So for sure, some direction is absolutely needed. What's Teal saying here?
Teal says today's transportation market is a reflection of the retail market for your shippers. So the person you're hitting up is very likely to also be tasked with cutting costs or doing a lot more with less internally in their company. Understand that too. Don't waste their time.
Yeah, like you said, cog in a big machine.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts that are out there, and I think a lot of it is understanding. Again, what I always look at it like this, man. Here's another thing too. How would you receive your message if you were in the transportation providers? Sonny's Canadian as well. And he said, where's the Tim Hortons? I had to throw that in there.
Well, we try to stay away from that, but yeah, it's nice sometimes.
But I look at it sorry, Tim Hortons. How would you receive this message if you were in that person's shoes? Right? Would you want to respond to you? I think that's a good way of you of looking at things, and be honest with yourself, right? Be honest with yourself, because I also look at it like this, man. How many times do people buy from a door-to-door sales rep, right? Because that's kind of what we are the first time I'm reaching out, man. I'm just another motherfucker who's just popping their head in at that exact moment. And the majority of the time, you know what? Hey, we're good. We're good. We're good. Or, we're not interested. Okay, cool. So how are you going to follow up? right? Like that's my big thing too, is how much power is in the follow-up? Do you notice that you're more likely to reply to somebody maybe after the third or fourth outreach if they're consistently adding value? Again, not copying and pasting the same "we can save you 20% message, but they've clearly done another level of deep research. Like, hey, I see you opened up a brand new location in, Walla Walla, Washington right now. How's that going for you, or something?
Yeah, for sure. And to be fair, that first rejection is really when the pitch actually starts, right? A lot of people, I think, don't realize if a person takes their time and really explains why they're saying they're not interested, you can get a lot of information from that, and you can actually turn that around, right? Because if you call in and you're saying, hey, you know what, I'm running LTL, this, that, and the person's like, you know what, 5% of our business is LTL. All I do is FTL between Nebraska and, whatever, Iowa, whatever. That's all I do. So I'm not interested in LTL. Hey, maybe then you take that and say, well, hey, actually, I have all this other stuff. Here's a conversation, right? But if that person tells you, hey, I'm doing FTL, not really interested in LTL, and you just keep pounding him with that LTL proposal, that's really not going to help anything, right? So you got to read the room.
And I've found like this too, man, like even the feedback that I get, because again, like, man, I run a core region. That's really my area of focal point. I've had some, not all, but some of the prospects will reply, hey, we don't have anything going to that location, but we have stuff that heads in that direction. And I found as a service provider, they actually take my approach better than most, in the sense of, I'm like, okay, I don't run that often. If you give me some time, I can work on it and talk to my network of drivers and come back to you with an option, because we're not fluid, right? Like, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh yeah, I can do that. I can provide a price on that for you, because I can't. Like, again, like my company is like, the name recognition is more important to me than trying to make $50 today, because I need to create revenue for the next 12 months, 12 years, 20 years, right? And I think it all can be tied down to that first capability conversation that you have. There's a lot of power. And I think, again, this is another thing I would like to get your opinion on here, V. Are you ever going to remove a service provider who says, hey, you know what, man, I can't do that for you on this one?
No. And in fact, I appreciate transparency. I will respect a person more for saying, hey, this isn't my thing for today, or I can't handle this tomorrow, rather than somebody say, hey, yeah, I can cover it, and then have a rug pull or worse, right? So absolutely not. Would never.
So I know we're kind of like these shows always go by quick, and 30 minutes goes by fast, but a lot of my audience has day jobs as well. And I kind of want to wrap it up like this, man. If you're out there putting the bullshit standard save you money, yada, yada, yada message out there, what is something that you could just say, hey guys, do this to start? Again, this is just from your perspective for your freight. But again, I don't think you're the only shipping manager who thinks this way, or the only logistics professional who thinks this way. What could somebody do to stand out?
Try to do as much research as possible. Make certain assumptions on what type of equipment a customer is going to be using. Maybe even see what kind of lanes they're going to be using. Search up, hey, it's a retailer, search up store lists. Probably find distribution centers. If it's a retailer, hey, probably running a lot of smaller equipment, right? Probably doing a lot of the inventory transfers on FTLs. Do as much research as you can. Not too short, not too long, right? Get your point across. Be specific on geography and equipment and services if you can, and see what they're looking for, and then go from there.
I think Andrew's going to try and offer to buy you dinner. He says V's a great interview and an absolute resource. He's not wrong. He's not wrong at all.
I'm just trying to catch up to Teal every day. So
I know, me too, man. Me too, dude. I appreciate you joining me again. I think there's so much value in hearing your perspective, because you feed these inbound outreaches, whether it's email, DMs, cold calling, everything else. And, it is based on the individual, but there is a common theme, I feel like, with what a lot of prospects and shippers are looking for in the service providers. Because I will say this, no matter what market we're in, you're always looking for quality, right? You're always looking for quality providers.
For sure. Even if you're looking for a discount, doesn't mean you're looking for crappy service.
Yeah, that's it. Well, perfect, you guys. That's going to be it for today. We'll be back on Monday. We'll be breaking down some articles. As always, if you guys got value, subscribe and share the show. You guys rank the show out there, YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, get it, because if you guys see value, your network's going to see value in it as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon. And now me and you are just going to